It's going, it's going, it's going. Whoa, it has been an interesting week. It's been a busy week. Not as fruitful as I would have liked, but nonetheless, it was a good week. All right, Marquita, I think we are
live. Definitely are live, yes.
Perfect, perfect. Let's see. Are we on the, how is our screen? How do we look on our screen? How are we?
Let's see.
Are we speaker view or?
We are speaker view.
All right, so now what about now? We definitely, where both of us are in this frame. I think there's a delay.
Always.
Always. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
We still have some morning left. Happy holidays. We are in the holiday season full effect. And definitely at the end of the 2020, which, I'm hopeful that we have some, with all the new changes on the horizon, I hope that certainly means that all the bad that we've put up with for the last 9+ months or whatever it's been is definitely going to yield a fresh start in every aspect of all of our lives going forward. I certainly need a fresh, a newness, a fresh start, so to speak.
So
2020 has been like a cloud, wouldn't you say?
It's interesting that you say that, and I definitely share in some of that sentiment. However, I was on my live on Wednesdays that we do mortgage, credit, and more, and I had played the theme from Kirk Franklin that even though 2020 has been what I would call, and it's such an overused word at this time, an unprecedented time, I will have to say though, Jen, there still for me has been more good than bad. And it's very interesting. Like we were yelling at 2020 being the beginning of a new decade. So technically the new decade doesn't
new vision.
Yeah, but the new decade actually doesn't start till 2021. So that was the end of that decade. The new actual decade doesn't start till 2021. So I'm just believing that, better things will come. But 2020 was 2020 vision, hindsight, got to really see what's really, really, really important because we all got sat down, shut down, or whatever you actually want to call it. So definitely not a year that I want to repeat, but I felt like the year has been very revealing. And at the end of the day, I was encouraging everybody to still smile because at the end of the day, for me, and this is just my personal thing, and I'm blessed, I'm grateful. It actually has been more good than bad this year. For me personally. So I'm just going to take it in stride, right? What else can you do?
I love that. That is so funny because I appreciate that. And I totally share your sentiments. Yeah, there was a lot of things that I wish, as I'm sure a lot of family could go back and change and undo. Obviously, my brother, I can't bring his name up. Anyway, so yeah, and it's just been a moment where
I'm sending you a virtual hug on that.
God, it's been
hug on that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But it's been you're right. We've been very blessed. And I told Alan, I said, we've talked about this. I said, you look at what everybody else, so many other folks are dealing with. We've been fortunate. We've been really, really blessed in spite of. And you're right. It's been a year. I think that it definitely has been a year to pivot, to shift, to look back, reflect, get clarity in our vision. So going into the new decade, going in with new perspective and a totally new mindset. You're right. It's been a whole lot of cleaning up, cleaning house, reflection. So, again, you got to find the good with the bad. I believe, all things do work together for the good of those. And what I would say is the scripture that I like to quote, for those that love the Lord and are called. And I have to say that it certainly, it does all work out. And, I'm just, that's just where I am. And, certainly it's been a lot of growth mentally, but with that said, let's move on to today's topic because once again, I was delayed in logging in. So do we have any viewers online checking us out?
It looks like 5 people are on here right now.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
They are. Give us a like, give us Put some hearts. Let us know you out there.
Yes, yes. I can't see. I'm actually working from my laptop. I don't have the second monitor.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, no worries.
I thought I'd give us a little Christmassy background since we are in the holiday season and I'm trying to get
I
this whole
see.
holiday feel. So I'm gonna try to flow with this for the rest of the season if I can. You know, maybe I might change up a
You
bit.
got on your little red Christmas
Got my
sweater. I
red
see.
Christmas sweater on, favorite sweater. So it's warm, it's soft, it's comfy, and it's one of my favorites. It's stretchy because
Okay.
that's something that definitely has changed in 2020. Is my
Man,
weight has stretched, but we going
a
into
little
this
bit.
decade with a new attitude. So
Hey, that's what leggings are for.
I
And
love
I
it.
have I got my is it called Great Greens that your daughter
Yeah, you did
I
great.
did get it.
Yep.
I will say I've been scared to try it though, because I was like, I hope it tastes good. But I'm
You
gonna
won't
go
find
ahead.
out until you try it if your palate can tolerate it. I think it's definitely tolerable. It does not have a chalky taste. And I know
That's good for
that's our
anything
commercial.
that has a workout.
I wish someone was down here, have a can, a little jar of it to kind of give a little shout out to Christian, my daughter, of course. I'm buying, her little infomercial there, but nonetheless.
Yes.
So the question for today, this week, Marquita, is, certainly so many people have been taking advantage of refinancing. For those that have equity in their home or that are in a position to do so. Question came up is, should I actually refinance or should I just, do a HELOC? And for those of you that don't know the acronym or what that means, is a home equity line of credit. Especially say for folks like that have been in their home, and I know it's a loaded question, but of course, someone that's been in their house, and I know I'm throwing this at you without any preparation, but if we can just kind of, for our next 10, 15 minutes, chat about it. But going back to, should I refinance if I've been in my house or I've owned my home for maybe 10, 15 years? We know that, the first 5 years or so is all interest, but now I'm actually maybe starting to actually pay down some of the principal. Maybe my interest rate is 5% currently. But I've got equity in the house. Should I take some of that equity out, maybe pay off some debt, or, I don't know, whatever it is, to moving forward into the new decade, or should I refinance and start that whole 30-year process all over again? What are you're the expert, so let's talk.
Yeah, I am the expert.
Yeah.
I'll take it. What was that commercial? Like the hotel, I stayed at a Motel 6 last night, so now I'm the expert. Remember those commercials?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, remember back in the day, he's like, I stayed at Motel 6, so now I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's a loaded question. It's a great question though, and I've been faced with that question with borrowers and
Sure.
always in homeowners that are looking to take advantage of this market and basically realign their debt. And always I say that it's going to be specific to your scenario, right? So that's probably my disclaimer for every answer that I give,
Sure.
right? So I'm going to say it's going to be specific to your scenario. There's going to be some benefits for homeowners that either start the cycle over, and then there's going to be some benefits for other that just have equity in the property and wanted to put it to use, right? So I feel like having equity sometime and it's just in the home, you got to, it's not doing anything.
Right.
It's sitting there, right? And we know as far as money that, one thing about money is if you have money, you need to put it to work. So it looks like we are not on speaker view
We're
anymore.
back.
Okay, so
We're
just
back.
letting you know. So it really depends. And you mentioned something very heavy, like the first 5 years of your mortgage are loaded with interest more than the principal. So at some point, you do actually turn the corner where you start paying more principal versus interest. But the first 5 years, that's just the way it is in America, folks, right? That there's more interest being paid than the actual principal. So I think you have to look at a couple of different things to make a decision on whether you start that clock over. And it's what's your exit plan. In some cases, it's okay to start over because the cash flow that you're actually going to get from doing that, you're going to take that cash flow now and pay off. If you were paying 500 less, you could take that $500 now and pay off debts that have, double digit interest rates. Right. Some of the credit cards, some of the security equity line, like secured loans or unsecured loans. So I think you have to look at the overall scenario. And then for some people though, we talk about 30 and 15-year fix because it's just common, but you really can't do a 25-year mortgage. You really can't do a 20-year amortization. So you could actually still do it and start at 25 years because you've already got 5 years in. Granted, yes, the first 5 years, even that 25 years is going to be more interest in principal, but it's going to be interest in principal at a much lower clip, right? So I had an actual lady, she's refinancing it. Bless her heart is what I'm going to say first, bless her heart. She saw the APR on the closing disclosure, and she was like, "Why are you charging me $193,000 for a $476,000 loan?" I'm like, "Baby, it's a cost to do this, and if you make the same payments for 30 years at this 2.375 interest rate, this is how much you would pay for the loan." So she didn't understand why if it's 476, why is the finance charge and the loan, why shouldn't it be the same? I'm like, that would mean you have a 0% interest rate, dear. That it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
no,
Was that
right?
a question? I'm sorry. My dog was barking so loud I had to mute. I'm sorry. I missed that.
No, perfectly fine. So she just didn't understand that the finance charge over 30 years for a $476,000 loan was $193,000.
Yeah.
And she was like, why isn't the loan amount and this amount the same? And I'm like, babe, that would mean you have a 0% interest rate.
That's right. They got to make the money. You mean,
Yeah, like
we
gotta yeah. I mean,
30
the bank
years. Yeah, they've got to recoup their costs. Thank you.
Exactly. So I was like, well, what is your true exit plan though? Do you plan to stay here for the next 30 years?
Yeah.
Her cash flow break even on that is $600 a month. So it still makes sense for her to do it, but she really just didn't understand. Right. So for her, I was like, you definitely do not need to do an equity line of credit. You need to just go ahead and get this done, and you're going to save $100,000 over finance charge. You just have to tough it out over this 5-year period.
Right.
So right now, equity lines are appealing too, because for the person that has been in there for quite a while and does not want to restructure the loan, it costs more money to refinance an entire loan than it does to just get the equity line. And I'm not an equity line lender though, so I have no dog in this fight. Like, don't call me for equity line. I do not do home equity lines of credits. I do full blown.
Would they go to their current lend? If they refinance, let's face it, most of the times when you refinance or whatever you do, buy a home, the mortgage is immediately sold. Do you go to that current person who's now holding the note and ask them, hey, do you do the equity line or what? And then I'm sure there are costs to that as well, Marquita. I mean, you mentioned
there is. It's much more minimal.
I'm sorry.
It's minimal though. The cost to do an equity line of credit is minimal as far as refinancing an entire loan. And typically your loan servicer does not offer equity lines. Equity lines of credits they seem to be specialized in by credit unions and banks. These are the loans that are going into second position. So you have your first mortgage and then that loan is going to be second. So they're actually looking for higher credit scores for that because there's some risk involved for them. If the market ever turned and you needed to sell or refinance that house, they're going to get paid second because that loan is in second position. I like the use of equity lines for a couple of reasons. You only pay for what you have in use. So if you had an equity line, it was $50,000, but you only have $10,000 in use, you're only paying on that $10,000. Whereas if you refinance the whole amount and add $50,000 and now you just have the $50,000 sitting in the bank, it might not be the best scenario, especially if you've been in your house longer term. And like I said, I have no dog in the fight. I don't do equity lines. This is just pure advice, in my opinion, on how to smartly use the equity in your property. So I think equity lines are good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as an investor, it might make sense because isn't that money cheaper than going out and getting a loan?
Right. Yeah, definitely. It's cheaper than going out and getting any type of loan, like an unsecured loan or a loan from some of these companies like the One Main Financials of the world. And like I said, you only pay on it if it's actually in use, right? So the rate is variable for many times. It's going to be tied to a index and a margin. Well, right now the indexes are low, so the margin is fixed. It's always going to be there, but what your rate is you're paying for that money is going to be based on a certain index, whether it's a 10-year treasury or anything like that. But those numbers right now are super low. And the fact, like I said, that if you're not using it, you don't pay for it, you just have it open and available, then it's a good play.
Isn't it a good idea for borrowers, even if they don't, especially now that the money is so cheap, to at least, if they decide, well, maybe I already have a decent interest rate and yeah, maybe I'm 20 years into paying my mortgage and it doesn't make sense for me to refinance. But I have this equity. Is it smart for a homeowner to just at least open up that line of credit, have it available, whether they use it or not, but have it available while the money is cheap? Is this another loaded question?
No, it is. But personally, I would say yes. I would say yes because what good is the equity if you can't put it to use? What good is the equity if you can't access it? If there's a time to ever do that, I would say it's actually right now. Um, and like we talked about earlier, 2020 has been a very interesting year. So to be able to have access to cash, liquidity is everything. So by turning that into an equity line, whether you have it in use or not, makes you liquid, which is going to make you better because we don't know what's going on around here, right? And we just don't. Like I have somebody refinance right now. Now they decided to do their whole loan because based on their scenario, that made sense. And when you do a cash out refinance with us, we do ask, what's the purpose of the funding? Now you could go out and say, I'm about to buy a purple giraffe. I mean, okay, that is what it is, right? Like there's no wrong answer to it, right? I'm about to go buy this purple mobile home, right? Whatever.
Yes.
But one of the answers came back, and the lady said, hey, she is working on having her cash fund. She wants her cash reserves. She don't want it in the house. So she's refinanced, she's taking 20,000 out and she's going to put that in her savings, to make sure she's liquid. Because these are unprecedented times. So I would say absolutely, I would look into it, the cost of that and do that.
Marquita, let me ask you this. So, and I know I didn't kind of shifted this over to this whole HELOC thing, and I know we're just kind of having a conversation here, but what if I have this home equity line available to me and then something happens? Will the bank take that away and say, no, we're going to shut this down. You didn't pull any money out. We don't, you're not using it. So we're going to close it. We're going to, kind of like with credit cards, if you don't use a credit card over a period of time, they're going to just go ahead and close it. Which
absolutely.
Works against you, which works
absolutely.
Against you.
Yes, that absolutely can happen. So you need to read the terms of whatever agreement that you have with that bank. So if it's not in use or nothing being charged yet,
Does that take the money out and let it go into an account where you're going to gain some additional interest? Maybe you can make some money off of it, or buy some
possibly, or invest. Right? I mean, that's the deal. That's what I say. It's like,
I agree. I agree.
I am so far behind the curve. Like I'm going to share some personal information right now, as far as money is concerned. I grew up with parents.
Q&A. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of Q&A. So I grew up with parents. Well, my mom was a saver, so not necessarily an investor. So she passed down the saver mentality, right? Mm-hmm. So you probably could come to my house right now and find all kind of money I'd have saved in the envelope, in the drawer, underneath the mattress and everything. But that money's not working for me.
No.
So I like the fact of, switching that money around and actually investing it for a greater return. So back to your question about someone actually not using the line of credit, you do have to look at the terms of the agreement. So yes, they actually can shut it down. And typically you're going to have a 10-year draw period where you can use the money for 10 years and then you pay it back over a 20-year period. So you have 10 years where the line is open to use back and forth. So I do think you need to have activity. Like I said, just like the credit cards, they make no money if you don't use the card, and they will turn around and actually close the card. So you just need to read the terms of the actual agreement as far as that part is concerned.
Right. So that's good info. Do we have any questions out there, family?
Let me see. Oh, so Kiki says it's good. Loving my refinance closing at closing. They are so happy. Yes, Amy, no doubt. They definitely should be happy. I mean, we're seeing people actually change their whole financial picture, and maybe like I said, like money's no good if it's not being put to work, right? It's a tool. It's a tool to do things. And if the money's just sitting in your home and you can't access it, or you're paying too much for it and you can realign your debt structure, then it could be a fresh start, for people to, start over. So
a lot of folks hold on to it, think about, investment, but like you said, it's not working for you. What if you took some of that, had it available to use that money where you can invest it and make more money? Because it's just sitting in the house is no different than just sitting in the bank. Granted, we probably get more return sitting in the house, but our market isn't what it used to be. And I mean, who knows what could happen? And
right. Exactly. Is it? I mean, you got, like I said, you got to think of your exit plan. I mean,
but don't use the house or use your equity as an ATM machine.
No, do not use it as an ATM.
You don't have discipline or wisdom, don't do it. Don't do it.
Right. But there's so much information. We live in an information age. And like I said, I grew up, my mom was a saver, so that's what I knew. And I'm probably behind the curve on savvy ways to use money. But now, if you can actually Google anything, like we're in an information age, there's so much free information that's still quality information to help people in their decisions. So it's all about, lining up your team, your money team,
Yep.
and figuring out what to do and what actually not to do. So I had this goal when I was younger that I was going to retire by 50. Well, it ain't gonna happen, but I tried. It was a good dream.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, I'm gonna pack on another 10. I got to get out of here by 60 though. I love y'all, but I can't still be doing loans at 60 years old. I don't see it.
Yep, that was my plan, and I think we both are on the same track because I was hoping to be able to retire with a mutual friend of ours.
Oh man.
Yeah, that would have been great. However, you're right. So there was something you said, and I just got distracted with this phone. I should turn it off, man. It just distracted me. But there was a good question. Definitely make the money work for you.
Right.
Whatever you can do. And then the retirement thing. I mean, if you're gonna use it, make it work for you. Invest the money. I just lost my thought and I'm trying to grab it back and I can't. So forgive me, folks. I'm sorry. I digress with the distracted text message. Got distracted, should say. But yeah, let's make it work. If it's there, oh, I know what it was. Thank you. It was important. You mentioned get your financial team together. Don't make, I mean, this is just me. I would not, and I would strongly encourage you to do exactly what you just said, our audience or whoever's watching us, is get your financial team together. Talk to your CPA, your accountant, whoever it is, and find out what is the best decision for you, whether to, I guess, if you do have a bunch of equity in your house and you've been in it 20 years or 15, 20, whatever the case, find out what's the better plan and what you can use that money for. Not, again, don't just use it as an ATM machine because it's available to you. And maybe it is better just sitting where it is, or maybe you would be better off refinancing into maybe a 15-year or a 10-year, depending on where you are, or taking that money out to look at the numbers to see what makes sense. Is it going to be cost effective for you to refinance versus taking the equity out? So I guess that's all I have for you this week, Miss Marquita, Queen of Mortgages.
You got it.
Anything else?
So
Any other questions out
you
there?
said it though. Do not use the house as an ATM.
Right.
During our market crash, that is exactly what happened. So not only did we have toxic mortgage, we had appreciation that was going up in double digits in months, not years, in months. And we had people that had refinanced several times. And what they did was when they took that equity out, it didn't get put to any use. It didn't pay down high interest debt. It was on vacation. It was on their back. I laughed so hard at a post yesterday, and then we'll end it. And I probably shouldn't even share it, but it tickled me so bad because the girl said that her family better not call her for help. She said it was a shortage in the ocean of crabs and lobsters because all of these seafood boils y'all done had with the stimulus money. Oh, when I say I died and came back, I said not a shortage in the ocean. And she said, now they calling someone asking for some help to get the kids some gifts for Christmas or whatever. She was like, oh, no, I don't even think so. Y'all had the whole ocean shorted.
Oh my God.
Out here, just spending the money on, I was done. I said, oh my God. So there are no crabs and lobsters.
Something right there. You started something with that because this check that people received and it's like, and that potentially going to get another one. Guys, that money is to be used to better some, like Susie Orman. I mean, there's some good and bad, but she did something that said, listen, if you get this next check, guys, don't use that money to pay off the debt you have. I mean, that would be my thought. If you've accumulated debt or something, use that money to pay it off. Don't just go and say, go buy you some more seafood boil. I mean, there's probably no more.
Oh my God. Like I said, I hollered. She said it's now a shortage in the ocean of lobster and crabs because of y'all. I was like, I'm so done with you right now.
Legs. Yeah.
All these seafood boilers. I seen them on Facebook. Now you're asking me to help. No, ma'am. No, I can't help you. So we'll leave it at that. Always got to have some humor.
I appreciate you. Thank you for showing up every week. And for everybody that's patient with us and do join us in your questions, as always, we want to be your resource or at least be able, someone you can bounce some questions off. And if ever you need some help, we're here for you. You got the Queen of Mortgages over here, and of course, you've got your agent for the people.
I
So
like
we're
it.
signing
So
out. Have a wonderful weekend. Get your last minute shopping done, whether you're doing it in person or online. Girl, that's
thanks for reminding me. I better get off of here. Maybe get a couple gifts, 2, 3.
gifts. All right.
Yeah.
You have a blessed Saturday and wonderful weekend. I'll catch up with
All
you
right, you
next
too.
week.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.